While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Does he have it? Yes, he does! And that might be the knockout punch.
All right, greetings, salutations. Another episode of Fangs up here. Woo! Help if I can talk a little bit. But look, hopefully you're ready. It is Celebration Bowl week officially as of today. So after this show, if you are not already watching like on your other screen or on your TV, go over to BCSN. Go check a brother out. We're gonna talk a little about the Celebration Bowl. If you haven't heard, I'm gonna do it myself on Friday. So no show Thursday just because of travel. We're going up to Atlanta, getting ready for the Celebration Bowl ourselves. So always fun times. As we always though, look, HBCU Digital Network, this home to Herb Seward and the Black Techies, also home to the Fangs Up podcast. And look, FAMU this week, they were doing what they were supposed to do. And honestly, that's what I need. I just need you to do what you need to do. Take care of business. And in some areas, did you get the wins? Yeah. In other areas, did you get some L's? Absolutely. But you did kind of what you needed to do to be able to be successful. So that's really what I'm looking forward to as a fan. And just kind of what I was looking to in general. So, especially look, track team. Look, we're gonna start there because some of y'all funnel in and some of y'all already with us. Y'all know what's up. But the track team, man, the track team is where it is at. Like the track team is already kind of starting out pretty solid and started out with their best foot forward, just from my perspective, from what I've seen so far. So it was pretty awesome to see. It was pretty nice to be able to witness that FAMU track is out there doing the doggone thing. Like that's just one of those things where you kind of see it early. We saw it with the 60 meters. Nia Blocker, she got sixth place. And look, that was the women's. We also saw Nia Coleman got second in the mile. So you already can see like some of that word from some of us telling you, like FAMU wasn't playing about that distance this year. We saw it up there at Clemson. So they're in Clemson, South Carolina. Also saw, 400 meters, we got seventh, but Lacey DeBoski, she did get her personal best there. High jump got third. 4x4, we got sixth and 11th. So it wasn't great. Could have done better there. You know how we do that. Long jump, we got fourth. So, we just had a couple spots. Shot put, we got first and ninth. One of our favorite shot putter, she got ninth. So she gonna do better than that next time. But we also saw with the men's long jump got second. And the men's 600 meters, look, got first. So we see a little bit of growth, a little bit of action from the track program. Honestly, this point in the season, first indoor track meet of the year at Clemson. Clemson was really kind of the big dog there, but you had a couple schools from various sizes spread out there. I'm cool with that. Like I definitely can take that, and I'm okay with it. And we got first place in 600 meters, so look out for the SWAC. Like I'm just saying, FAMU track is going to compete for the SWAC this year. Like I fully expect us to be very competitive, and you would expect that 600 meters cross country champions. I'm just saying, the two kind of go together. Now, as I mentioned, though, look, we did what we were supposed to do, and does that always mean that you won the game? No, not at all. So in this case, women's basketball lost close, lost by 3 to South Alabama. And I'm never here for Pyrrhic victories, but if I was going to say this isn't a bad loss, I'd say that. Like, this wasn't a terrible loss it could have been. It definitely could have been something different. But I'm just telling y'all, this team right here, well, look, this is a team that could really compete. I think going into the conference, you're going to see some things. We definitely saw today where Arkansas Pine Bluff, they pulled off an upset. Is Jackson State going to be the team they were this year going to the conference? If so, I mean, that's something. but you still got a chance where this team could be in the top 3 in this conference. Considering the season you had last season in women's basketball, I'm not gonna lie, I'm here for it. Like, don't get me wrong, y'all know. Look, I love me some Coach Pillow, but it didn't work well for us, And it's not a slight on her. It's just that's the way it went. She faced a lot of challenges while she was at FAMU, so kind of was what it was. Now the men's basketball team and all of this. Look, I ain't gonna lie. These pictures, you can see the FAMU logo on there. Look, these are on the Twitter page. They did provide these for us people to be able to enjoy. So look, I didn't create this. Credit goes to the students that attend Florida University for creating these. But look, we got a W, and 2-5 right now. It was a nice win, 108-78 against a team that just beat the team that you lost to at home. Is that like beating a Division I team? Nah, not at all. But is it a win that you needed? Yeah, man. Like, I mean, look, I'll say it right now. Look, I wasn't second guessing. I was first guessing. I was sitting here looking like, man, it's gonna be kind of rough in Tallahassee. What is looking, and look across the tracks. I'm over there looking. They just took an L to USF. Whew. Look, Leonard Hamilton better tighten up. But same thing, like, man, look, FAMU's got to be competitive this season. Can't be a season where you struggle this much just to be average. Like, we can't be the floor of the conference. And currently, I saw where, we're projected to be last place in the conference this season based on what we've done so far. So you got to get up from that. You are missing a couple players, but at the same point and in the same vein, this is a critical year. This is one of those years where it's either win or go home. And if you're not winning, obviously you're losing. But if you're not winning, you're also putting yourself in a position where you might not be there next season. Like, if we're just being real about this, we could be real or we could lie about it. And the truth of the matter, FAMU basketball's got to win just to kind of save Coach McCullum's job. You got to get some W's. And it's not that, not trying to run the brother off, but we got to get some W's. Look, Tam's already in there. Let's go, Rattlers. Look, I'm with you all day. Like I told you, I wishy-washy when it comes to FAMU basketball. FAMU football, I'm 10 toes down. FAMU basketball, I'm wishy-washy. I'm always going to support. But, I can't be fanatical when we lose. I'm a supporter at that point. when we're winning, I'm fanatical. It is, woof. I walk in there with my chest poked out. I got a big chicken stroke when that happens. When we losing, it's like, how the basketball team? It's always next year. So this is one of those years, though. I really think with the makeup of the roster, it's boom or bust. Like, very similar to what we saw with the football program this year, where it was like boom or bust. Either you were going to the SWAC championship, or it was just going to be like, this just was an abject disaster. This time, so far, I'm cool. Like, we got one more win than I kind of thought we would get after the Albany State loss. Like, I'm not going to lie. If you told me to look at the schedule, I figured at this point in the season, we'd have this record because I didn't count the Presbyterian game as a W. But going into the Iowa game on Friday, followed by the next day, Iowa State, I'll be honest with you. That's not a game I'm just going to get overly excited for. But I think it's a game you can definitely get an upset over one of those two teams. Do I think it's likely? Nah. If I was gambling, man, please. I wouldn't put your money up for that. But if you ask me, do I think it could happen? Yeah. Those are some of the teams, especially Iowa, when I start looking at, you can get a chance, especially if you play smart. Like, we definitely saw in this game, the bench was huge. The bench accounted for 30 points in this game. You're starting to see, like, the strength of FAMU basketball is in rotating your players. If you're going to just throw 5 out there and stick with that 5, man, stop. It's not going to work. But if you rotate 5, especially if you get your scorers in there, I mean, look, there's no reason why Stevens shouldn't be playing 10 to 15 minutes a game, at least. He getting 6 minutes a game, you're misusing the talent. That's a score. Like, you need scorers because at the core, Coach McCollum's system is based on defense. He wants to play really good defense, and when it's at its most successful, you have one or two primary scorers. The whole team will contribute, but you have one or two guys that are the dominant scorers, and then you get 10-4 from some other guys, 10-5, as my man Jason would say, 10-6, and it's really that's when we're at our best. When we got a couple guys giving us 10 points, and then we have a primary guy giving us 20. Because all of a sudden, I mean, it's just how college basketball works. College basketball is not a high scoring game most times. You don't see a lot of 100-point games. Normally in college basketball, let's be honest, if I can guarantee you 70 points a game, you're going to win a lot more than you're going to lose. Like, especially if you can play some decent defense, and 70 to 80 points is going to win you a lot of basketball games in college basketball. And I think there's something that we may have found in this game. Yeah, we're playing lesser talent, but, we got to win. Now, football, if you haven't been watching the television or you don't live in Florida, you did not notice that the state championships were at Bragg Stadium and Bragg looked good. It looked half empty, but for considering it is a state championship environment, some of these schools were traveling 8 hours plus to get to the stadium. I got no problems with that. It looked good. Bragg did well. They showed out. But in this week, man, there's a lot of recruiting going on, man. And that's kind of the big takeaway, because this week we didn't really have a lot that we got from them as far as like X's and O's and schemes and stuff like that, because there was no game. There was no football game to talk about. But we definitely, we saw the press conference, talked about that a little bit. But what we did do, and look, credits to the Fangs Up podcast staff on getting some of these recruiting things ready and getting ready for the future. FAMU was back to recruiting, and it's obvious transfer portal is going to be the way. First dude, Nicholas Bigelow, 5'10". Don't hate. If you below 6 feet, I don't want to hear nothing you got to say for the next 5 minutes. You're a hater. And I say that for all people that are below 6 feet. Don't be a hater every day of your life. But 5'10", Nicholas Bigelow, 160-pound kicker from Tennessee Tech, excuse me. That's a Tennessee. I said Texas. I meant Tennessee. My Seminoles got robbed. But he originally came from Manatee High School. And you can see that there's an obvious connection there. Their coach, I believe right now, is still Jaquez Green. And if you're not familiar with local sports, he coached in Lincoln High School for a little while. So went down there, I believe, with Coach Shakir, who is now at the University of Florida, who was the head coach at Lincoln. And now Coach Green's doing some nice things over there. But FAMU's recruiting some kickers. So it's just letting you know, like, special teams is going to be very important. And again, this is a kid who leaves home and come on back home. Like, it's, once you cross that Georgia border, it ain't as sweet as some of y'all think it is. So we're going to see. This is a potential get that we could get. Is he committed to us? Nah. But is it somebody that, look, keep an eye out for? Absolutely, because we've seen kind of how FAMU special teams, has been, but also can be. And when FAMU special teams is on, it's on. Like this is proven to be one of the better teams in the SWAC, and it's crying out for us to get this NIL thing going. So, but you can see got a little picture for Duel up there, Now, next one, look, he was just here. Like that kid right there, Joseph Troop, 5'9", 200 back, Berkeley Prep. If you didn't catch that game, it was with Berkeley Prep. It was actually a pretty solid game. Felt like they took advantage of the fact that the other team had too many penalties. Because the other team that they played, name slips me right now, but they had an early return that was called back due to a penalty. But we saw with Berkeley Prep, this kid is pretty solid. Like, he looked good out there, ran with good intensity and good pad level when you're watching the game. 5'9", 200-pound halfback. Look, y'all, Just saying, we didn't pull up all the film this time for him. We're gonna get back on the films, but we were able to see him in Bragg Stadium on TV as well, and he looked pretty solid. Like this is another one where if you're a fan, that's a kid that you kind of want to keep an eye on. Like, does he end up going somewhere else? Does he come to FAMU? Does he bounce back? Like that's what we're seeing a lot with FAMU. It's definitely he's one of the few high school recruits that are being offered that's not like a 4 or 5 star kid. Currently 0 stars out there, but I don't mean nothing. Like the kid looked good in person. If you didn't watch the game, go back and rewatch some of that film. You're gonna see Coach Smith and some of the other coaches are there. Like you're gonna see. um, Coach Simmons was there. Trying to remember what other coaches I just saw from watching the games that were there. So keep an eye out there. Now again, FAMU is gonna be portal heavy. You can start to see in this right here, Milan Tucker, 5'11", 180-pound receiver from Appalachian State, but he's originally from Lehigh Acres. So you're starting to see where, again, another guy with some decent size, but kind of fits that. I'm starting, when I look at that size, I'm thinking Riley, maybe a little bit bigger Xavier Smith, like just playmaker. Currently transferring from Appalachian State. So you can start to see where, again, FAMU's very committed to using the transfer portal to the point to where, and it's not necessarily FAMU coaches, but other coaches I've asked, like, hey, you looking for a defensive lineman? I know a kid. And they're like, high school? Nah, we good. It's like, oh, crap. Like, this transfer portal's really kind of messed it up along with these extra COVID kids. So it's going to be interesting to see what some of these kids and where some of these kids go, especially in Florida. Like, I feel like this is going to be that last year as we kind of start phasing out these COVID kids, where you see a lot of that top end speed just leave. But that's going to eventually benefit schools like FAMU in the end, because while you may not get those kids on the first rung, when they hit the portal, look, you got kids that are saying, FAMU's an option. So we're going to be interested. They'll, there we go. Last one. Make sure I had that was right. Last one we got Davion Walker, 6'2", 180-pound. He's an athlete from Vanderbilt. Not a lot of stats. Now, if you're a Rattler fan, depending on how you feel about this, Vanderbilt's either been really good to us or Vanderbilt's products have gotten on your last good Christian nerves. Now, for me, look, I'm cool with the last dude we got from Vanderbilt because the Moose has had a decent season. Has he had an amazing breakout game yet? Nah, not in a while. But has Moose thrown a bunch of picks? No, not recently. And that's what you're looking for. And that's what you're looking at. Like, can we get some guys with some productivity? Walker is 6'2", 180 pounds. If he's at a receiver, he rejects to a receiver for me. If he's a defensive player, I think he's a safety. Like, I don't know if you want him at corner just because how does he do against the smaller, shiftier receivers? And that's a question. That's not from like watching film or anything like that. But it's just an open-ended question. Like, once you get to about 6'2" as a corner, look, that's a nice size. Like, you can cover a lot, but it also means you got to be kind of shifty. Like, so we're going to be able to see how FAMU does. Look for more kids to get offered, though. Like, we know the signing day is what, about a week away? Like, let's see. Y'all know I like to know. I like to speak with some authority, as Dr. Titus Brown would say. And then that was I don't know if he's retired yet, but that was a FAMU professor that I had for history. So Dr. Brown was instrumental to my success at FAMU. Not even gonna lie. Without him, man, shoot. Looks like players can sign their NILs on December 20th, but I did not really care about. Oh yeah, NLI. There we go. So December 20th. So you got 10 days before we start seeing some kids get signed, and we kind of already know like that first signing period kind of hits, and in the past, HBCUs really didn't get much talent for like a few weeks, honestly. And now we're starting to see like with the early signing period, some of these high school kids are, hey, they're signing on the dotted line because you only got one more signing day, really. I mean, you have the remainder of that school year theoretically to sign, but we're talking about just like, hey, this is how much signing time you got, or another signing day. You got December, you got February. So if you ain't got it by February, it's probably not going to happen. So we're going to see those. There's going to be some more kids that get offered. I fully anticipate some of those athletes that played at Bragg to be able to get a chance to get an offer from FAMU. Like, that's just going to be one of the things that it's part of why you come. That's why you go to a FAMU. Now, if we really want this to become something that gets next level, man, I'm gonna say it once, I'm gonna say it again. Yo, the NIL thing's got to happen. Like, it's just got to be a thing, because what's gonna happen is that we do understand FAMU's kind of got a cap enrollment wise. So you can only get like 9,000-10,000 kids. Like, that's all the state wants to do. But when you got Southern with like 15 in their system, and A&T with some of these, like some of these other HBCUs aren't going to be as concerned about growth. They start generating more revenue, and man, that's going to start affecting the game. So the first HBCU that can really get an organized NIL and can start getting to the point where they're paying some of these players, that's going to be a thing, because we've already seen where the NCAA has proposed creating a whole new bracket of football teams that can pay their players at least $30,000. Obviously, that excludes darn near every HBCU I can think of. Like, just stroke checks for 30K and add scholarships. So it's not just having so many scholarship players. It's also adding scholarships and paying all of them 30,000. You start talking into the millions, and so all of a sudden you start looking real quick and wondering, like, hey, what can be done? But then what can you do to entice some of these kids? I think we've done a pretty solid job this year, though. Like, consider you don't have a quote unquote designated NIL program, you do have athletes with NILs. I mean, we showed Moose's got an NIL with a hotel. We see where Glaze got the NIL with Krispy Kreme. We're seeing where offensive linemen, like, you can kind of go down and start seeing where any players have some NILs. And that's something that, honestly, the only other school I really see doing it probably as good as FAMU is Grambling. And Grambling's got some players, some pretty cool NILs, but how long does that last now that Hugh is gone? Like, and that's going to be the next thing. Like, if you're a FAMU fan, yeah, Willie told us, hey, I'm not going anywhere. Willie may not be leaving. What about the assistants? I think defense coordinator wise, you're probably good. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I think he's kind of hit that age where he's like, yo, I like where I'm at. Offensive coordinator wise, though, and the tricky part about that is he's the offensive line coach. Like, Willie calls the plays. Like, you're not going. I'm not going to BS a BSer on this one. We're going to keep it a buck. But at the same point, you do need that person that's over the offensive line, and that's the other position where I'm kind of looking at in the transfer portal to see what FAMU does next, because we saw where FAMU added a lot of depth this year, and it became one of those things where at the end of the season, your efforts through the transfer portal and in recruiting, helped your team really sustain the rest of the season. And it became, once you finished, honestly, the Alabama State game, Alabama A&M game, you were coasting. Like, the last 2 games of the season, I mean, you literally take out, until the SWAC championship, your best defensive lineman, best defensive end, I should say, he doesn't play. Like, he dresses for the Florida Classic, but he comes off the field and walks past me. Like, I'm looking like, Anthony Dunn's coming off the field? What's wrong? And it's like, oh, he's hobbling. Yeah, nah. And then that's like championship. He was a monster. But you saw where those efforts to build that offensive line paid off now, because you've lost 2 of them for the season. Like, one of them, potential medical redshirt next year. The other one is his career over. Like, and you're still going to have some graduation and other guys that leave and exit the system, just because it's just normal attrition. But I think that's the position where, as a FAMU fan, the first thing I notice is the receiving core. Like, oh crap, we're losing a lot of receivers. We're losing our quarterback. But I think the unsung position that we're really not talking about is the offensive line. Like, can FAMU continue to recruit not only high school players, because that's going to be something where you're really going to have to develop, but also go into the JUCOs and get those players, because the hardest position to get in the transfer portal is offensive lineman. If you're an offensive lineman that's worth a cuss, you're going to a Division I FBS program. You're not going to an FCS program very often, not unless it's like it's close to home or something like that. Like we saw where like Goss comes to FAMU from Florida State, kid's from Valdosta. Like, and at this point, the kid's he's a man. But the guys from Valdosta, like that's a short ride. Like you can go to Georgia Southern, you can go to these other places, but you've already been in Tallahassee, kind of enjoy the experience. But can FAMU build there? That's going to be my question. The offensive line, as well as continuing to build on the defensive line. Like the defensive line, I believe General Hunt comes back. I believe Anthony Dunn comes back. So you start to see where FAMU's probably going to have one of the best defensive lines going into next season. And that's just not, projecting ahead, but that's just kind of understanding some of the whys of the recruiting system here. Because, yeah, we just pointed out FAMU's looking for a kicker. Obviously, like that, you lost Fadul, you lost Jose. I mean, you lost two amazing kickers. You had a pretty good season, but you still had moments where the kicking kind of had you like, man, we could have did better at that. But you're also starting to see, and pulling back on this one, the running back room. Like you're losing running back one. Like we could say this any other way, but Terrell Jennings is leaving. And even Coach Simmons pointed out after the SWAC championship game, he's like, these guys only got one more game. And pointing at the two players there, Jennings and my man from Tallahassee. So you're starting to point out where you're starting to lose some of these major players, these guys that have been in the system for 6 years plus. Like literally some of these guys have darn near been with Willie since he started. So now these guys are funneling through the system. Now you gotta replace them. And one of the things that was mentioned in the post game, I want to say with Dr. Cavill, it might have been I forget my man from Tampa. I can see his name, fair skin, glasses. But anyways, like it was one of them where there's like, when does the rest of the SWAC start turning into FAMU as far as team makeup, player makeup? I think you start seeing that. I think Jackson State's going to be one of them. I think Southern's another one. I think Southern really started it. If you gave Dooley another year, I get why you fire him. Look, I was leader of the joke squad on that. Like, definitely was. I was definitely a leader on the joke squad of both of them before they got fired. And once they got fired, I was like, all right, look. I can't be making too much fun of this. But I get it. But if you gave either one of them another year, look what they're building player-wise. I'm not talking about competence. I'm not talking about stuff making sense, because that's what got them both fired. My opinion. Stuff they did, just the math wasn't mathing. But on the other side of that, when you start looking at the buildup of FAMU's team, FAMU is built by the line. Like you really took an SEC model. Like if you want to kind of dumb it down for the lay football fan, FAMU's playing SEC football at a lower level. And you really took what Jackson State did and tried to match it. Like, and the way it's different is that you didn't just load up on 4 or 5-star talents and 3-star talents and bring them to a lower level. Nah, you had like, a couple guys who used to be 4s, but mostly 2, 3, whatever stars. But you brought up and you said, we're going to create a really good, strong offensive and defensive line. And what we're going to do is we're going to ride this defense. And this defense is going to be the sneaky thing that no one thinks about, because it's shotgun Willie Simmons. He throws the ball's in the air. Like Musa is the quarterback and he's the player of the year. Yeah, he is. But at the end of the season, this is a run-oriented football team. Like, okay, yeah, Riley gets these deep balls and it's so exciting. but that's off of play action. And it's the play action that was established because you ran the ball. So it's kind of the smoke and mirrors of FAMU football that I sell you the fantasy that FAMU football is just so pass oriented that we're not physical. Where in actuality, this is probably the most physical team in the conference. And you're seeing that consistently when they just want to, they can just bow up and go at you. And I think that's going to be one of the questions kind of looking at the Celebration Bowl, and I do have the Morgan State game up there. Look at Howard's offensive line. That's the first thing I'm gonna tell you to do. Especially they got one dude, I believe his number is like 77 on offensive line. I believe he's a right tackle, um, left tackle. So look at the size. This may be one of the larger offensive lines we've seen, and this is one of the teams that's going to be committed to running the ball. Like we're not going to go all the way into the Celebration Bowl and kind of like what it is, what it ain't, and we might have to. But at the same point, when you're looking at this game and getting prepared for it and looking at what FAMU is as a team, what you're going to start to notice is that this team starts on its line. Everything starts on the offensive and defensive line. And the main objective of this offense, offensive line-wise, establish the run, protect the quarterback. That's it. Anything beyond that is just gravy. But establish the run, protect the quarterback. It's FAMU's offense. Defensive line-wise, wreak havoc. Especially cause pressure from the edge and have strong tackles, interior tackles, that make it very difficult and shut down the rush lanes and make it such that the quarterback, especially with the ends, more so than the interior lineman. But when you got General Hunt in there doing what he does, it kind of is what it is. But what you're trying to see is that, or what you'll notice, is that FAMU's edge pressure makes the quarterback step up in the pocket or just abandon the pocket. And all of a sudden, he's having to throw the ball into a zone defense. And so behind the front four is normally the back seven who are playing in zone. And literally, they're waiting on you to throw an inerrant pass. Again, I've said this before. I'll say it again. FAMU's defense is partially dependent on the fact that a lot of HBCU quarterbacks aren't the most accurate guys. And that's how we get our success. Now, when you start playing against teams that are more accurate, you start seeing problems. Or when you have quarterbacks that are mobile and that can move a bit. And that's going to be the question with Howard. Can they get their run game going? And how long before they just commit to running the effing option? Like they run the ball out of the shotgun a lot. It's going to be very similar to the run that you see from FAMU because they have dynamic running backs. But will they just commit to running an option? Because I think if Howard runs a read option based offense against FAMU, I think that's the trick. And not to give you a major key, if you want more, catch me on BCSN in about 30 minutes. But I think that's the major key. If they can establish a read option that then slows down FAMU's back seven, because the front four are they're gonna attack. There's not going to be a lot of the defensive end. Sorry, I said the defensive end fakes like he's blitzing and drops back in coverage. You're not gonna get a lot of that. You can get a lot more of that kind of weird, what looks weird to us as far as the secondary, how they're lined up and how one is kind of playing press and the other's playing off. You're gonna get the middle linebackers that are there, and your two linebackers normally. One's probably gonna blitz, one's gonna drop in coverage. Who's gonna do it? And then when are they gonna fake out? Because you started to see where they'll fake the blitz and drop major in coverage. A lot of times Chaney's over there wrecking heck the first quarter. So it's going to be really interesting to see because as the game goes on, how does the makeup of this team differentiate FAMU from the other teams? Because I think that's the biggest thing for FAMU going against this year's MEAC opponent, opposed to what we saw from Jackson State, where it was no secret, hey, the offensive line was a question. And then North Carolina Central had arguably the best quarterback in HBCU sports back there. Dynamic guy who could run and pass. So with FAMU, what are you going to do with that? And then how is your recruiting going to let you take advantage of those things? And can you get the ball in space? Because if the offensive line does its job, that's going to let those receivers catch the ball in space. And that's where FAMU's dangerous. When the running backs, especially like Jennings, we've seen what Jennings has become. These last 3 games of the season, really 2. Jennings is a 100-yard rusher. Like Jennings is very capable of popping a 100-yard game. I think against Howard, if I had to do over or under, I would go under 100 yards for Jennings. But I do think he's going to have one of those moments where he's going to have a good day. Other thing, look, I'm looking at his Howard defense. That defensive line. Howard's defense don't suck. I mean, they are all right. But I just think when I'm looking at them, I think FAMU's going to have to pound them. No weird stuff. But you're going to have to wear them down. Look at what you kind of saw against Prairie View. That's the model. Wear that defensive line down. Put Musa under center. We've been saying this all season. We've been seeing it a little bit more at the end of the season. Put Musa under center, Jennings back there, and the running back's got to protect the ball. That's the biggest thing. So it's going to be interesting to see, though. But today, we talked about some of these kids that got offers from FAMU and some of the results. Like FAMU's women's basketball, they lost. We talked about the track. Look, go to Clemson's website. Honestly, I pulled all the stuff from there. So I went to Clemson's website, click on the track link, and they actually have, and it breaks it down race by race, who won, who did well. We did get a first place finish though for the track team, and our favorite shot putter, she did all right. She gonna be a little upset, but she gonna do better. Men's basketball got a win, much needed. Next game, I will see. And the football team, look, we just keep recruiting, and the FAMU's football coaches definitely took advantage this past weekend where we had a plethora. That's how I know you're a real rattler from the Billy Joe era. When you hear the word plethora, you're like, oh yeah. Well, a plethora of options came through the highest of 7 hills. So it's gonna be fun times. Look, no show Thursday because we're traveling. So me and I will be traveling up to get ready to go to Atlanta. So we'll be up there and probably do a little Fangs up on Friday night, depending on what time we get back. So, but if not, we will be at the Benz on Saturday. So good times. If you see a brother, throw a wave. We definitely do fist bumps, and get ready. Like it's gonna be some fun. Y'all that talk trash, you talk your trash. Y'all know me. I don't talk much trash. I let them stand on business for me. So, but for Herb Stewart and the Black Techies, look, HBCU Digital Network, this is home. Look, again, check us out. We're probably gonna do an instant reaction. We're gonna, it's gonna be a little bit later, but we're gonna do an instant reaction after the Celebration Bowl. Hopefully, FAMU gets the W. Man, I'm just telling you, y'all don't want FAMU to win this. Y'all think we talk trash now? My God, y'all don't want us to get this, man. What's up, Dwayne? Look, what's up, Dwayne? Look, Celebration Bowl, it is. See y'all in Atlanta. And as always, it's going to be Fangs Up.
Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started. Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Dorsey, how